Ajay Saini, can you please mute yourself? There's a lot of background noise at your end. Thank you, Ajay. So guys, we'll wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll start. Okay, so I think we have to respect everybody's time here who's been early. So we'll just start, and those who come in later can catch it up as they come in. So all the panelists, please enable your window, your video and your audio. Okay, thank you. So hello everybody. Very warm good evening to all of you, and heartiest congratulations to all of you for clearing your inter CA on behalf of the entire Vision CA team, and welcome to the finals. So essentially what today's session is going to be is a sort of handholding or generic advice for you all over the next 2.5 to 3 years until your CA finals. Before we start, I would like to tell you some things that we won't be covering today. You can either connect with us one-on-one for that, or
Yeah, I guess Priya has got disconnected. Right, Harshit? I guess Priya is disconnected, right?
Yeah. She said she'll be fixing the issue and joining in a moment. Until
Okay,
then,
fine.
if you could please
Okay, fine. So what
take
I'll
over.
do is I'll ask each of you all only to introduce yourselves. So I'll start with Harshit. Can you introduce yourself, Harshit, briefly?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys. Welcome to this wonderful initiative by Vision CA. I am Harshit Shah, qualified in 2019, the May attempt, and I'd secured an All India rank 36. Currently, I work as a management trainee with Vodafone Idea Limited. And yeah, that's it. You want me to go on further or?
No, no, it's fine. You're just
Yeah.
going
Oh,
for brief intros at this point.
okay.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm back. Sorry
yeah,
for, I am so sorry for leaving abruptly.
yeah,
Yeah, go
Priya,
ahead, Upaman.
okay, I'll go ahead. Rajvi, could you just introduce yourself briefly?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Rajvi Natwani. So I recently qualified in the November 2020 attempt with an All India rank 3. And I've done my articleship from Deloitte in the Mergers and Acquisitions Tax Department. I think that's about it.
Okay, so whom do we have next? Are all the
Yeah,
panelists introduced?
yeah. Advait, could you just introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in on a Saturday evening. My name is Advait Pisharodi. I cleared Chartered Accountancy in the November 2020 attempt, and I secured an All India rank 9, the CA Final exams. I pursued my articleship from Deloitte in Deloitte Statutory Audit Department, and hoping to have a great interaction with everyone here.
Who's next?
Okay, I think just two of them left to introduce. So, Arak, if you could just introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hello, guys. Myself, Arag Daga. I cleared my Chartered Accountancy course in November 2020, and I've done my articleship from Deloitte India in Stat Audit profile. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, and finally, we'll be having Saloni Kavra with us. She's also an All India ranker at CA Final level. She's AI at 24 and currently working with Boston Consultancy Group. She'll be joining us in a while. So, till that time, Priya, you can take over and you can start with the weapon.
Okay, so thank you so much, Upamanyu. I was very sorry. I'm very sorry to just leave abruptly. So what I was talking was we won't be covering certain aspects today. Doesn't mean we are not going to help you on that. These things will either connect to you on a one-to-one basis or organize a separate webinar for that as per the strength. So first is the procedural aspects of what forms to fill, etc., which ICI is in a better position to guide you because we have done these procedures a long time ago. Second is articleship form and guidance and CV making. We have already done a webinar, a detailed webinar on that, and we'll link it down in this video. So make sure you check that out. The study leave preparation, the 4 to 5 months of study leave that you people will be getting just before your CA final exams, we'll organize a separate webinar on that for you because that's a different track altogether. We won't be taking up currently any questions about whether to go for A faculty or B faculty for classes because guys, I hope you appreciate that all of our journeys here are going to be very different and the way we learn, the way we understand is going to be very different. So we will definitely connect to you on a one-to-one basis and share our opinions on this topic, and that will help you to take a better decision, but not in today's webinar. And the last thing is this guidance that we are going to give you today, people, is going to be very broad guidance. All of us are going to have very different journeys. You and me here, all the panelists here also have had very different journeys. So don't take this as the only truth that you have to follow during your articleship. Obviously, you have to be flexible, be resilient, and adapt whatever guidance we are giving you as per your situations. So having said that, without wasting any further time, let's get into this. How will be the flow of this webinar? We have got questions from you from our Google form, And we have added to that certain questions that we think we should answer. So I'll be taking out questions, I'll be addressing them to a particular panelist, and that panelist will begin with their answer. After that, anybody else who has any panelist who has any additional points can pitch in. At the end of this session, what we'll do is we will open the floor to questions. So any questions that you have not been answered during this webinar can be answered there. Please raise your hand. I'll call out your name. You can unmute yourself and ask the question to any of our panelists. So having said that, let's get started. So the very first category of questions that we are taking up today is going to be about something all of you all are very curious to know. That is the study plan and how do we go about coaching, when do we do coaching, etc. The very first question that I have today is, are classes required for all subjects? And Harshit will answer this for you.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you're perfectly audible.
Okay, great. Okay, great. First of all, let me begin by saying that this question, are classes required for all the subjects or not, is in itself really subjective. So let me not make the decision for you. I'll answer this question on the track of how is it that you should be deciding whether you require classes for a particular subject or not. I guess that would be a better question to answer. So I'll be answering this in two parts. The first part being, since all...
Isha Jan, please mute yourself. Go ahead, Harshit.
Yeah. So the first part being, since all of you here have cleared your CA Inter, congratulations and kudos on that. And I'm pretty sure that while you were preparing for your CA Inter and after clearing, while giving your exams, you would have had an idea as to what are the subjects which are your strengths and what are the subjects which are your weaknesses. And if you haven't had an idea about that, I'd recommend and I'd request you to sit one day and just think about it, think through it कि कौन से subjects ऐसे हैं जो आपको ज़्यादा पसंद है, which are the subjects you feel कि आपकी strength है, आपने इसमें अच्छे marks score किए हैं इंटर में. So that would be the first filtration criteria. Make a list of the subjects which you feel are your strengths and negate out the subjects which you feel are your weaknesses. So for the subjects which are your weaknesses, obviously, I'll suggest कि आप coaching ले लो उसका. And for the subjects which you identify as your strength or as your liking, there'll be a second filtration, which I'll be answering right away. So the second filtration criteria would be, until you start your articleship, and in the beginning, I guess 1 or 2 months of your articleship, आपको इतना ज़्यादा काम का pressure नहीं होगा. So what I would recommend you is कि आप जाओ BOS Knowledge Portal पे, CA Inter के टैब पे नहीं, इस बार CA Final के टैब पे जाओ, and just go through the subjects which you have identified as your strength. Just go through the index, read out the topics, देखो कि ये topic कुछ familiar लग रहा है कि नहीं. अगर लग रहा है वो topic के अंदर जाओ. If you have chosen say SFM as your subject which is your strength, तो जाओ SFM में chapter देखो, valuation है, valuation of securities, portfolio derivatives, etc. आप वो chapter में गए, read through a certain concepts. If you understand a particular concept and if you realize कि हाँ चलो मुझे module पढ़ के समझ रहा है चीजें, I'm able to solve the examples on my own, solve the questions on my own. I feel that would be a good enough test for you कि चलो मॉड्यूल से पढ़ के समझ रहा है तो I'll manage the subject on my own. मुझे क्लास की जरूरत नहीं है. So post these two filtration criteria, I feel you'd be able to decide कि आपको क्लास करने चाहिए कि नहीं. And for the subjects which you have determined as your strength, आपने मॉड्यूल go through किए, आपने self study start की. At any point of time, until it's too late, I feel आप कभी भी you can go for the coaching classes because as of today काफी सारे coaching classes faculties available है जो pen drive lectures देते हैं, online lectures है. So there is no convenience issue. आप कभी भी coaching classes लेके you can go through it. So that won't be an issue. These were the 2 points. And one another point which I would like to mention here is once you decide that you are doing coaching classes, say either for a particular subject or for all the subjects, these are the few learnings which I've had, and make sure that you too, apart from the technical learnings of subject padho and guidance lo, make sure कि you develop a network, make sure you make friends, जो throughout your journey आपका साथ दे, because if you have somebody by your side whom you can share your troubles with and take this journey together ahead, it will be of great help. And network बनाओगे, obviously post clearing and everywhere it will be of great help to you. So make sure you develop your personality, develop other skills along with the technical learnings in the coaching as well. I hope that answers your question, Priya.
Okay, fair enough. If the participants have any doubts on this, you can ask at the end, connect with us one-on-one. Don't have to worry about that. We are here. The second question is related to this somewhat, and it is, when do we start CA final coaching? So Arag and Harshit both can answer this for me.
Yeah, I'll just continue where I left. So as I said, once you decide कि हाँ चलो ये subject के लिए मुझे coaching लेनी है, so if I speak from my attempt perspective, May 2016 में मैंने IPCC clear किया and Feb 2017 is when I began with my classes. मैंने सारे subjects की coaching ली थी. So I joined a fast track batch and मैंने सारे subjects की coaching Feb 2017 से start कर दी थी, which is approximately 6 to 8 month period post my CA inter results. So I think that is the ideal time when you should begin with your classes. Also, for those people who are planning to take specialized faculty for every different subject, उनके लिए it becomes more so important because you'll have to plan हर subject का coaching accordingly. So it will be great if you start early and have buffer time, because वो faculty आपके लिए adjust नहीं करेगी. वो faculty का जब batch होगा तभी आपको enroll करके वो classes लेने पड़ेंगे. So I guess 6 to 8 months post your CA inter would be a good time to begin with your classes.
Yes, because even before that, you'll be still adjusting to that articleship life, which is
Correct.
very new for all of us. So don't get into that coaching just after your CA final. That's a mistake I made. Give yourself that time to adjust after articleship, and go 6 to 9 months after your after articleship starts for your coachings. And one more thing here is, I think subjects like DT, IDT, which are more prone to amendments, should be done a little bit later. We'll be, of course, covering that later in the session. Any other panelist wants to add anything here? Please go ahead. Though I think Harshit has covered it very comprehensively. Fair enough. So the next question is, by when should our CA final coaching be completed? And Rajvi will answer this for us.
Sure. Hi, Priya. Am I audible?
Yes, Rajvi, audible. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the first thing which I want to say is, like, CA final is all about conceptual clarity. And as we all know, like, that is what we build upon during our coaching. But the important thing is, like, you need to have a very open mind and you need to have very few distractions. And that will happen in your self-study, like after your articleship is done. So that is why the main thing is that your coaching should be over before your self-study period begins, is what I would personally recommend. But having said that, I think it's not very feasible, or there is obviously spillovers. So what you should essentially target is, if your attempt is in May, you should probably latest by Jan end get your like all the subjects done, including electives if you are opting for classes. And if it's November, likewise, I think end of July. So that is what you should target. And I mean, just make sure that your first read should be very, very good. And that is why you should not have classes and other distractions during that phase. And that's why you have to finish your classes and finish your understanding of the concepts pretty early in that sense.
Fair enough, that summarizes it. Now the next question is for Advait, and it is, what is the order of subjects that one should follow? We have 8 subjects in CA final. What order should we take classes in? So Advait, if you could guide us broadly about what order we should follow.
Sure. Thank you for your question. Just before I begin, am I audible?
You are audible.
Okay. So I believe that, for the subjects, you need to divide it into brackets. As you rightly mentioned, tax subjects usually should be done towards the end, and it should be compulsorily done in the end after the relevant Finance Act has been passed. So I believe the panelists here are May 2022 onwards. Their latest attempt is May 2022.
No, the latest attempt here is November 23.
November 23. Okay. So for November 23, I think the Finance Act would be passed, I guess, by 2022 April. So post that, they should be starting their classes for tax. And even April would be very early, but yeah, I'm just giving a brief timeline as well. I can just see from chat that somebody from November 22 is also there. Then essentially it comes down 1 year earlier, that is 2021. So both your DT and IDT should be done after that. So the first or the order initially, you should start off with those subjects which are less prone to amendments. Usually SFM and now FR, since the indices are stabilizing a bit, are less prone to amendments. So I think you should start off with those classes, especially SFM. So usually SFM is something that you would want to start off first because it is majorly sums based and there is no other concept which requires a lot of amendments, right? So I would say SFM and FR should be initial. The tax subjects and even electives should be towards the end. And in between, during the first year or towards the end of your first year or just beginning towards the second year, you can start with audit or law. So basically, this is how you should plan, and audit and law, and even SCMP for that matter. I think this way all the subjects will then be covered.
Fair enough. So what Advait has told us essentially is very broadly how to plan your subjects. Of course, in this there would be additional factors to consider, like the availability of the classes for your attempt, what is your personal strength and weaknesses, etc. So even if you have doubts in that, you all can reach out to us on a one-to-one basis and we can help you in planning that. Does anybody else have anything to add over here?
You're on mute, Priya.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So, does any panelist have anything to add here? Advait has covered it very comprehensively. That's fine. So, the next question is, what is the ideal time allocation for each subject? And this question is for Rajvi.
Okay, so like first of all, as Harshit very rightly mentioned, like all the subjects are subjective individually for each person. You'll have to do a SWOT analysis and you'll have to kind of figure out, go to the BOS knowledge portal and figure out which subjects you are more comfortable with and which subjects require more practice. So I think that will be the first thing which you have to consider. And apart from that, I think, yeah, obviously IPCC would also give you a fair understanding of which subjects you're comfortable with and which you are not. And based on that, and based on what coaching classes are you taking, like is it everything under one roof or is it one subject at a time, you'll probably have to make a decision as to how much months do you give to each subject. Now, having said that, personally, I think FR, SFM and VT is something which is a bit lengthy or which requires more understanding on the student's end. And that is why that would take a larger chunk of time, say about 2 months if you were like studying it every day for say 3-4 hours a day. And the other subjects, say law, audit, SCMPE, IDT, and your electives can take a little lesser time because that is something which essentially has a little bit more on the memorization end. And that is something which you would probably do it in your study leave. So that is how you can bifurcate. But again, like this varies from student to student. I think that's it from my end.
Yes, exactly. And even it would depend a little bit on your articleship exposure, how fast you grasp the subject. Correct. So, yeah, broadly, Rajvi has covered it. Again, there would be some lag in the time, sometimes there may be a season in between, you may have to go outstation. So there may be some delays in the time frame she has mentioned, but yes, this is the time allocation that is generally required for CA final subjects. The next question is something that almost all the participants have asked me, and something CA finalists, we always have this question when we enter CA final. What is the elective and when do I choose my elective? Now for the what elective should I choose? This is a huge question, something that we cannot answer in today's webinar, and we have already done one on direct tax, on international tax, I'm sorry. We'll try to cover the other subjects as well. But if Harshit could cover when do we select our elective paper during these 3 years?
Yeah, sure. And there's a simple, straightforward answer to this, unlike the previous questions. There's an Instagram reel which is trending, which says, "Don't rush." So this is exactly what you need to follow here. Please don't rush for making up your mind कि मुझे यही elective subject लेना है. Take your time, complete your coaching and your studies, initial studies for all the subjects, because the elective options essentially are somewhat related to your main subjects. Economic laws is related to your law, international tax obviously related to your DT and international tax paper, GFR is related to FR. So while you complete your coaching, while you have the initial idea of what the subject is, you can then make up your mind as to which elective would you prefer to choose. And you only have to decide that and communicate that to the ICAI, if I'm not wrong, while you're filling the exam form.
Yes, correct.
So you can delay that until that point of time. Be really sure about the subject which you want to choose, go through the past papers and stuff, and only then make up your mind about the subject which you want to choose. So please don't rush into doing that, and please don't waste your time in deciding or engaging with people in deciding which subject you want to choose. Focus on the other main subjects, and elective at the end will follow.
Fair enough. So I hope that question which many participants had is finally put to rest. Now moving on to the next set of questions that we have got. It's mostly related to how the mindset of a CA finalist, a new CA finalist should be. And the first question among this category is, how do we stay motivated all the time? How do we maintain our life alongside CA final? And Arag would answer this for us.
Thank you, Priya, for this question. Am I audible, Priya?
Yes, you're audible.
So I'll first of all tell to all the people here, it's a very subjective thing, I'll say. You have set your goals. I want to do this in this attempt. I want to score a rank in this attempt. I guess that is the best motivation you can ever have. If you have decided something, then I don't think so anyone can change your mind or anyone can distract you. It's only you who can be distracted or who can achieve it. So, in order to stay motivated, I say keep the negatives away. Enjoy your life. Enjoy the things that you love. So, during these 3 years would be very hard. You have articleship, you have self-study, you have your tuition classes as well. These 3 years would be tough, but don't let your hobbies go away. That's the only, I'll say that's the only refreshing thing or thing that will keep you motivated and will help you refresh. So, as far as I am concerned, I am very enthusiastic toward the game of cricket. So, in order to uplift myself when I was down, I used to play cricket a lot. Since during the daytime we don't get time, I used to play it during the night time. We had a group of friends. We had a cricket club. We used to go there during the night, and through this way, I used to plan my refreshment as well as my study. I guess this is how you can keep be motivated as well as enjoy your social life.
I think I just want to add one part here, and that is to say that I just think the whole ideology of thinking all the time that I am, I'm not having a life, or I am so bogged down. I'm giving up so much in life. That perception or the way of line of thinking itself is incorrect. I mean, that makes you want to figure out activities separately over and above beyond the everyday life to feed in some positivity. Of course, you do that, but at the same time, you need to make a very conscious decision and be aware that you have made these choices. You are building a lifetime of comfort and luxury for yourself through these 3 years. So it's not really that. It's not that you are suffering or you are sacrificing for nothing. I mean, people say that, I've sacrificed 3 years or 6 years of my life for these exams and so. And I always keep saying this and repeating this, that it's 6 years or it's 3 years or 6 months for a lifetime of benefit. And that is something, if you're ignoring in that short frame, then that is something that, you're just being harsh to yourself. Yeah. So that is important.
Consider this as you investing your time for your future. It's not time that's you're putting into for nothing in return. And as Saloni always says, these are choices that you have made, so there's nothing to crib about it. And Saloni here is a live example for all of us, including me, of how if you set your mind on something, you will find time for it, be it hobbies, be it your studies, or whatever other goals you have. So start that mindset from today, guys, that these years you will have to plan it. There will be some up and downs, but if your goal is clear, nothing's going to stop you from making it there. The next is, how do we tackle unprecedented situations that may come up during these 3 years? 3 years is a very long span. Anything can happen. And how do we tackle such situations, be it ill health or death of somebody very close or some such situations? And Arag will answer this for us again. Anybody else who wants to can definitely pitch it.
Thank you, Priya. So I'd say take that thing as a positively. Don't consider it as a barrier. I'll say consider it as a hurdle that you have to cross in order to achieve your goal. See, unprecedented times are common in everyone. If you feel that this will bring me down or this will be a thing which I can't overcome, I guess then CA course teaches you a lot of things. In As we compare to other professional courses, this course makes you stronger mentally, physically, as well as it helps you to get a overall knowledge about everything. So I guess when you choose this course, you are very well prepared to handle all of these uncertainties.
Amazing, and nobody can
Right.
tell this to us better than Arag. If you haven't seen his story, please do check it out on our Instagram handle. It's really very motivating. Yeah, please, Saroni,
Right,
continue.
exactly. I was just saying that, so there are two kind of situations that happen. First, if something happens of this sort, you start self-sympathizing a lot. And I would say that, rather than thinking of it from that perspective, just start taking it as a challenge. Like I always think you need to have think of it as, once I've emerged out of this, I'll have a wonderful narrative to narrate or a story to narrate of achievement or victory. Rather than saying that, I couldn't achieve this because of XYZ factors. And the other thing is that, we often feel कि ये सब मेरे साथ ही क्यों हो रहा है. But when you actually talk to people out there, and you realize everyone, I think here, maybe of course, not undermining the challenges one has faced, um, would have had certain issues. Like I had someone really close to me face something right when my study leave began, like 2 weeks after my study leave began. And there were a lot of challenges. So I kept thinking, Ari, mere saath hi kyun? And then I spoke to another friend. He said, oh, he was himself not doing well. So, those kind of things you need to start realizing that this will happen. And at some stage or the other, if not in this journey, then maybe while you were on your job and really working, something even worse can happen. So you need to be just mentally strong to face it all. Yeah.
Shalini, I'll add on to your question. So, like people think, the Big Four articles, particularly the Big Four articles, think that we go through a lot. Because of the long working hours and the pressure that we have from our seniors, it's not like that. You have to handle everything. You have chosen, as Priya had said, that you have chosen it. You don't have to sympathize yourself. Be tough. You can do it. It's nothing that you can't do it. I guess if you have that positivity mindset and you have that willpower to overcome all of this, nothing is impossible. The word impossible also it's spelled I am possible. So take this as a thing which will keep you motivated.
Amazing. So I hope that gives you all the necessary boost, participants, that you all need over these 3 years. So remember whatever guidance Saloni and Arag have said, it will really take you a long way during these 3 years. Now, the next question is continuing on a point that Harshit had raised earlier about peer groups. And Arag and Saloni also can add upon this. How important is a peer group during this journey of 3 years? So please, Arag and then Saloni.
So peer groups, right? So I guess it is the most important thing I'll say. First being you can plan your studies with them. You can share your thoughts with them. You can enjoy your social life with them. So if you need a time off, you can have with them. So if you take for my example, we were a group of 8 people and we all cleared together in November 20. That is the best. Motivation I can give. I can say for peer group. It's like one for all and all for one. So we had made a group. We used to share everything what we are studying. So suppose a person is referring to XYZ book and he finds something different or something which is relevant or important to us. He'll share that photocopy on, he'll share the photo on that group, or he'll inform the others. So before every exam, we used to have a call of 5 minutes. And what we used to do on that call is how to approach that particular paper and what are the things that we should keep in mind while writing that paper. So peer groups are the most important thing, I'll say. And second thing, you can enjoy your social life with them. Since everybody cribs up in CL studies, everybody cribs about I don't have a social life, I don't have a social life. See, make a peer group. You can have a social life with them. You can study, you can enjoy, you can do anything with them. So I'll say it's better to have a peer group, and it's better to share your sorrows also with them. So I would say a peer group is an important topic as Harshit has covered.
Right. And I think for me, while I've always been, when it comes to studies, I've always studied alone only. I've never been able to find myself to study in a group, or I would feel very pressured in terms of, oh, they are pacing really fast. And how do I match up to their pace or something of that sort? But of course, I do totally agree. I think this was something that Harshit also mentioned earlier, and of course, Arag also emphasized now, that having a set of group of friends is really important across the 3 years. So I had a difficult time through articleship, through industrial training, or even on personal front. But it was purely because of a set of friends, and I think one of the mentors here, Upamani, was also here. And these people have actually pushed me up and lifted me and held me like throughout the journey in terms of, A, no, today you can do it, you can make it through today. And B, also guiding me that, A, okay, if we have read through this XYZ material, then this is what is relevant, and you need to probably refer to only this. And or you can ignore this part, or just, it's not just always morale, and it can be anyone. It can be your senior in your firm also. It can be one of the mentors from Vision CA team who can be a part of your group. It can be someone who's a close friend. It doesn't have to be someone from your batch or anyone, but find someone whom you can just share and be transparent with. Having that space, I think, just helps. But choose them wisely. I mean, these shouldn't be people who put you down or ask you not to study and be like, hey, why are you studying so much? So choose them wisely, because you're imposing your trust, yes.
Yes, so Saloni had told this to me also, that if one friend of yours is studying, you shouldn't be that friend who goes and say, "Arey, kitna padhai kar raha hai." You also should sit and study at that time. So be with a group who holds you and takes you up rather than pushing you down. So choose those people very wisely. You will meet a lot of good people during these 3 years, and these relations that you'll build now will not be just for 3 years, they'll be for your life. You'll realize how important your network is as you proceed through these 3 years. So yes, peer groups are very important, not just for CA final, but throughout your professional career.
Priya, if I may add to this, continuing
Sure.
from where you and Saloni left, it was the right point which you mentioned at the end, which I was trying to, cover here. Choosing the right peer group is important. You need to understand here the difference between a set of friends and a set of peer group you have while you are studying for your CA. So there are 2 to 3 points. First one, you might have a set of friends, but those friends might be toxic enough, or they might be people who might push you down. I mean, obviously, friends wouldn't do that, but their talks or the way they behave or their study pattern would be something which might demotivate you. एक बहुत ही ज्यादा आपका अच्छा फ्रेंड है, बट वो आपसे बहुत ज्यादा स्कॉलर है, वो दिन में बहुत ज्यादा 10-15 घंटे पढ़ता है, तो you shouldn't consider him as your peer, and you should obviously try learning from him, but that should not bog you down. So while you are choosing your peers, make sure you choose people with a similar mindset, people who think alike, and those are the people whom you can be with and take the journey ahead. The second point which I realized during my journey, as Saloni rightly mentioned, you need to have that somebody जिसके साथ आप अपने sorrows share कर सको and दुख बांट सको. And what my recommendation here would be, of course आपका CA peer group होगा, but please make sure कि आपका एक non CA friend हो जो आपकी बातें सुने, because he'll have a different perspective over your problem altogether, and trust me, वो आपके सारे rants सुनेगा. I had a friend who was from IIT Bombay. that life is way more difficult and tough. The hostel life and stuff there, the mess there. तो जब मैं मेरी प्रॉब्लम शेयर करता बोलता अरे तू चुप बैठ, तू मेरी प्रॉब्लम सुन, एंड यू रियलाइज कि योर प्रॉब्लम्स आर सो स्मॉल इन फ्रंट ऑफ योर फ्रेंड्स प्रॉब्लम. सो मेक श्योर यू हैव अ नॉन सीए फ्रेंड जो कुछ और कर रहा हो. He or she will make you feel better, and you will feel comfortable sharing your problems. And the third and the last point, a bit awkward, uncomfortable one, but for people who are into relationships and stuff, please decide your priorities and make sure you do not lean into the wrong company, and prioritize your studies, of course. So yeah.
I'll also add a little bit to this. This peer group, it should also be for learning, for sharing your mutual articleship learnings. Like I had done this a lot. I used to discuss work that I did not get to do in my firm with other articles in my firm. And I really got a very different perspective into different types of work because of such sharing. So make sure you use your peer group to give and take the necessary inputs. Okay, so enough said on peer group. I hope you understand that it's really important for this journey and for your life. We'll move on to the next set of questions. The next set of questions is related to self-study, something very, very, very important for a CA final student. The first question in this is, how do we make handwritten notes so that we can cover the subject easily when we sit to revise? And Rajvi will cover this for us because Rajvi has been really excellent in maintaining her notes. I have seen it myself, and nobody better than her to tell us about this.
Sure. Thank you, Priya. So I think here there are two sets of things. Number one will be your handwritten notes, and number two will be the markings which you make in your book. Because let's accept the fact that you won't get a lot of time to handwrite everything of every subject and every chapter of every subject. So like if you're getting handwritten notes during your classes, that will be very, very good. But if not, then in your study leave, you won't get a lot of time. So what you should probably make summarized notes or handwritten notes will be something which is very, very tricky, something which can probably be asked in MCQs, like something, say a statistical thing, or say number of days, form numbers, section numbers, and everything like that, which you have to memorize one day before the exam. So you have to make summaries for that. The next thing is something which is very tricky, or say SFMA Forex. So it's something very tricky to understand. So you can probably write in your own language, make a Hindi-English mix. This is what Saloni had told us. So I learned that from her. So you make it in your own language so that you understand it very well, because SFM is something which is essentially focused on your concepts. So I think that, and apart from that, something which is like, you know that ये पक्का आने ही वाला है. For example, directors in law, or IDT में refunds, or something like that. So you know this is going to come, so you can probably make it more concise so that you 100% cover it during your 1.5 days. So those are the things you should make handwritten notes on. And for markings, I would say, like, say for audit, essays and other chapters and all, you would not get a lot of time to write everything. So what you can probably do is you can mark very well in your content notes. You can take two colors, say a pink and a green, where the green is for something which is very, very general or something which is important, but it's conceptual, and pink is something which you have to remember. So that is again, like if it's in a different color, it will immediately strike your attention and you'll be able to focus on it more. Having said that, I think it will be good for me to share a little of my handwritten notes so that I can, yeah, I think you've disabled screen sharing.
Yeah, can you do that? Amir, can you enable
Rajvi, can you
screen
try
share?
now? Rajvi, can you try now?
Yeah,
If you're able to
just
do it?
a minute. Yeah, I'm able to do it.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is like something which I had shown on my YouTube channel too, but I thought I'll probably show it here also. So say if it's something, say if it's a law chapter where sections are basically scattered across your notebook and they are not very sequential, what you can essentially do is you can make an index where you write section number, particulars, and which page do you have to refer what from. So this will basically ensure that you do everything and you do not skip on something which is probably written on the last page of your book or something like that. And this will help you revise also very well. So every day in the morning, you can just kind of revise the section numbers, because obviously they do add weightage, or they do add, they do make your answers a little more better than the other people. So having said that, and this, so just a minute, so this is the form numbers. So again, like if you write the form numbers in your exam, I think there'll be like out of 100, there'll be hardly 3-4 people who would remember the form numbers. So obviously the examiner would be impressed. So this is something which you can follow. Now going on to something which I mentioned about MCQs or case study based questions. So you have to make sure that you summarize everything which you have to remember very well. So here what I had done is, say you take up a chapter of directors. So if it's something which you have to remember, say a small shareholders ka limits or small company ka definition or something of that sort, like all the limits. Even in company audit, like applicability of IFCFR, applicability of CARO, all of that you write it on a single sheet of paper, so that you can look at all of it together and you do not get confused in the exam. Even for economic laws, what I had done is, so all the acts had separate provisions for appeals and revisions and settlement authorities. So I had written all the appeal ka time limits and appellate authorities for all the acts together here. Because like the first time I read and I gave a test on it, I could not recollect it very well. And there was a mixture of all the acts in my mind. So I made sure that I write everything together so that it stays in my mind and so that I can revise it very well and all of it together. So I'll probably link this down so that you can refer it and make it in your own handwriting. And one more thing, I think more than referring to somebody's notes, is good if you write it in your own handwriting, because that will give you writing practice also. And I think you can register in your mind much more better if it's written in your own handwriting. I think that's about it from the handwritten notes perspective.
Thank you, Rajvi. Participants, I hope you're not getting intimidated looking at whatever is written in those notes. Don't worry, even we got scared when we saw it 3 years ago, but as and when you'll study, everything is going to be okay. So don't worry.
Done way like ahead. This was done during the study leave. So like y'all are way behind and y'all have a long journey to go before doing all of this. So don't get intimidated.
Exactly. And it's not anything, it's not any rocket science or anything that you have to get scared. You all will, with dedication and consistency, you all will be able to study that. Don't worry on that. The second question is in addition to this, that is, are summary notes necessary, Rajvi, and how and when should we prepare them?
Okay, so as I said, like the topics which I broadly mentioned, for those things, like as I mentioned, the huge weightage chapters or something which is tricky or something which is as in MCQs, you have to make summary notes. And like say for DT, IDT, during my classes itself, like I used to make handwritten notes which the professor used to give. So that is very, very important, I think, from a taxation or from a law perspective to write handwritten notes so that you integrate the provisions very well. And on the point as in when to make them, I think if it's made in your classes, well and good. But if not, then for the theory papers, I think during your first read, you should make all of this. So what you can essentially do is through the day, you read the content and say 1 or 2 hours in the night, you summarize everything and you color code everything so that it will add something more interesting to the boring theory being read all day long. And for the practical chapters, again, this will, I think during your classes itself, you can make handwritten notes for practical. And also like this will be for content. And if we look at sums, then like it will depend, like in the first read, in the second read, and in the third read, you go on marking questions and the number of questions will keep on reducing till you reach a point where you are able to cover all your final marked questions in the 1.5 days. So that is how like you have to go in the descending order and reduce the number of questions. I think that will be very important so that you cover all the tricky questions as well and you cover the main content as well.
Yes, so essentially as you go through these 3 years, you'll be filtering out things.
Correct.
And you will at the end reach a conclusive summary, but it will take the time of 3 years. So be patient, guys. Patience is very, very, very important during the CA final journey. Every one of us here would agree upon that. Okay, so having said that, the next question is for Advait, and how to retain the subjects for which coaching is completed, say 1.5 to 2 years prior to an attempt. How do we retain these subjects, because the syllabus is so vast and it's been covered some time earlier? So if Advait could take this up.
Sure. So that's the whole, that's the catch, that you will not be able to retain all the minute things. You will not be able to retain the details, and that is perfectly okay. So what is important here is, while your classes are going on, you understand the crux of the things that you're taught about. Say, for instance, if you have attended a class on Forex, so you need to understand what is arbitrage, how it is carried out. I'm just giving you an example. You'll be able to relate to it later on. So suppose there is a concept on Forex, you need to understand how this concept has come about, how is this concept applicable, and this you can do, sometime during the class as well, or after your classes. Once you're free, it won't take much time. For a 6-hour class, it should not take more than half an hour to 1 hour to actually summarize what you have studied and actually imagine and obtain an understanding of what the concept that you have studied in, and understand it, and to get to know what it deals with in crux. So you need to understand the crux of something. That is extremely important. And for theory subjects like law or tax, you need to understand the genesis of the provision. So if something has come about, why this has come about, what is the reason behind the same. I think if you incorporate a story behind main provisions, that helps a lot to retain. So it is very difficult to retain, the minute things like limits and stuff like that. So if you are not able to retain it just before your study leave and stuff like that, that's completely okay. It is just important to stay in touch with your subject, stay in touch with the crucial points of your subject and have a broad understanding overview. So this can really help. And so what I suggested was, after your each class, you can, actually sit down for an hour at the end of the day and, go through what was taught and just jot down the crux. So I would be very honest, I have not done it for each subject, but I would also say that I had done it for a few lectures, and that benefited me immensely right during my study leaves as well. So the main idea to retain is to understand the crux of what you have been taught and just retain that for now. I think
Fair
that
enough.
should do it.
Yes. So see, if you don't retain anything, it's fine. But it shouldn't be that when you see a book, you think, I don't know what this is, or this is entirely new to me. Have that at least 5% understanding of, okay, this page, these are the chapters, these are the pages in the book. Have that familiarity, build that familiarity, and things will fall in place if you are consistent.
Yeah, right. Like you just mentioned, on one fine day, if you open the book, you should not go like, oh, what was this actually? You should have an idea that, okay, this was something that was taught. I have a vague remembrance, so I'll be able to manage. Even if you reach that stage, you are right on track, well prepared for the journey ahead.
Absolutely. So does anybody want to add anything here of any hacks?
Priya, one thing which I would want to add here
Sure.
is this is a mistake which I've made, and I would want people to learn from it. As Advait rightly mentioned, that you need to be familiar with your notes and your books. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि one fine day you open up your book and you realize कि ये तो मैंने कभी देखा ही नहीं था, पढ़ा ही नहीं था. So for those who are attending coaching classes, make sure at the end of the day जो भी lecture में 3 hour के lecture में सिखाए, at least spend 10 minutes on it. And that is the mistake which I did, and I repented it a lot कि क्यों मैंने तभी रिवाइज नहीं किया है. So as on date जब हम आपको बता रहे हैं, being freshers, आपको शायद इसका importance realize ना हो, because one fine day you'll be having a plan कि चलो आज पार्टी करने जाना है क्लास के बाद, आज ये फंक्शन है, आज वो है, and in all of that you might miss it. And because it is a long time frame of 2.5-3 years, you will feel कि चलो आज नहीं तो कल कर लेंगे, आज नहीं तो स्टडी लीव में कर लेंगे, स्टडी लीव में नहीं तो फिर वो अनलाइकली रिजल्ट आ जाएगा. सो प्लीज डोंट कीप पुशिंग इट टू द नेक्स्ट डे. जो क्लास में क्या है, मेक श्योर यू स्पेंड एटलीस्ट 10 minutes टू कम होम, रिवाइज, एंड 10 minutes का टाइम तो ऑब्वियसली एवरीबडी कैन रिमूव, and please do that. So don't procrastinate and delay it over a long period of time. टाइम कब निकल जाएगा शायद पता ही ना चले.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes you'll have people asking you, do you remember, can you explain this doubt from this concept? And you will be like, ये कौन सा concept है, ये कौन सा subject में है? This has happened to me
Very
many
true.
times, and you'll feel very scared. And that fear will be in your head for a really, really long time. So this will happen, even though we tell you this will happen. There are chances that it will happen for certain topics, but please understand the importance of being in touch with the subject regularly. We're not telling you to put in 2 hours daily, 10 hours daily. Even 15 minutes can be magical if you want to retain things over a longer period of time. Fair enough.
Absolutely.
The next question is, at times we miss out on coachings due to certain commitments, due to outstation audits, due to due dates, etc. How do we tackle such situations? So if Advait could guide us on this.
Sure. So I believe the first thing is an extension of a peer group. So as Arag, Harshit, Saloni, everyone pointed out, having a peer group is important. This is again one of the biggest importance of having a peer group, especially a group of people in your classes as well. So if you've gone for an outstation audit, or say if you had a due date, you came really late at night, couldn't make it to your class and stuff like that, it is important to stay in touch with those people, have good relation, and ensure that you try to get the notes on the same day itself. And I would say from a personal experience, मैंने बहुत लोगों को बहुत message डाले हुए हैं, and I made it a point that I get the notes on the same day itself. I had only one outstation audit, I remember, and I had missed, I think, 2 to 3 classes from that. So I used to, you literally used to bombard them with messages saying, please send me the notes right now. Please send me the notes right now. So they used to send me the notes, and a lot of, you can ask your friends to even record the lectures and keep. So the thing is, the first thing that you need to do then and there itself is remove maybe 15 to 30 minutes, if not on the same day, ideally within a day or two, to ensure that at least first and foremost your notes are complete. I think if your notes are complete, then that eases a lot of pressure on you, and then it ensures that you do not have a backlog. And trust me, guys, if you have a backlog, it piles up like crazy. So in the end, you'll have a crazy backlog which will not be able to finish, and you'll get pressurized, and it's like a domino, proper domino of destruction. So I believe that first thing, that you should have your notes complete at least. Even if you have not understood anything, just look at your screen and just copy the notes. At least have the notes prepared. And I think after your outstation and due dates and stuff, you will have periods where you are relatively free. During those times, what you can do is, just listen to the audio recording, just read the notes, and just identify. So suppose this particular page that you have read, if you have understood it, then there's no need to even listen to the recording. If you have not understood it, then you can go to your recording, and that way you can manage. And also, a pro tip here is, especially during your first and second year of articleship, if you have an outstation audit, of course it need not be extremely regular, but if you have an opportunity, please go for it. You will have an opportunity to actually make it up if you're diligent, make it up in terms of your classes, notes, and stuff like that, if you're diligent enough. So you should not miss out on that as well. So incorporate the discipline in you in terms of completion of your notes and keeping on track during your lean time, so that you don't miss out on that opportunity as well.
Yes, thank you, Advait. So as he rightly said, that just missing one class shouldn't be a reason to forego an entire outstation audit experience, because those are very different. Usually factory visits, etc., which we won't get in a city if you're articling in a city. Having said that, the backlog thing is also very important, because if that chain breaks, you will become lazy and you won't want to do it further. I have done this, and my friends have shouted at me for taking their notebooks and xeroxing them finally. So don't let that laziness set into you. And another good thing, if you keep in touch by taking the notes, is at the next lecture, you can, if you have some doubt, you can clarify it with the professor or with your friends, which will totally make up for whatever coachings you have lost. So inculcate that habit. It may take away 15 minutes of your favorite TV show or something that you like to do, but it will take you a long way over the long run. Fair
Right,
enough.
and I think just to add on to that, I would say that while it is, you may miss some classes, do put in your best effort to ensure that you don't miss out classes because due dates will keep coming and going. Your career here is the question, and it becomes really difficult to later on balance or manage out everything. The second part is that if you don't cover up on the same day or get those notes right then and there or at least read through them, the next class when you attend for that particular chapter you will feel lost, and then there is a very high tendency to actually skip that entire chapter and feel I'll cover it later on because I wasn't able to understand, and that just adds to a whole lot of backlog. And being for whatever reasons, whether big four or wherever, I missed a lot of classes, and that ended up in the situation that in my last year, third year, I was attending 12 hours of classes on all my weekends. So then I did not have time to study. So it's really important that you start covering up the backlog or don't create a backlog in the first place. Address it then and there. Because, a class, if it's missed, it will still take you 4 hours to cover up. It's not like if you are in your study leave, you will be able to finish a class, cover up the class content in, say, 2 hours or 1 hour. So just ensure that you are always up and at pace on that. Yeah.
Again, it boils down to being consistent in everything.
Priya, I'd like to add
Yeah,
on to
sure.
Advait's point. So I'll advise you to complete all your notes before you go on leave. So if you go on your study leave and you search for notes and stuff from your friends, I guess first of all they'll not be in a position to help because they also want to study. And second, if you are searching for note, what will you study? You'll lose your 5 months or 4 months of leave. I guess it won't be a time to search for notes. It's better you complete it beforehand.
Yes, exactly. So nobody is going to be there at that last time because everybody wants their own books then, and you shouldn't be running from pillar to post searching for the notes then. Okay, I think we have fairly covered up how to patch up classes. The next question is for Harshit. When do we order the ICI modules for CA Final? I think many of us are on fire now. We'll order the modules and we'll start studying, but I made that mistake, and let Harshit first guide us and then I'll share what mistake I made.
Yeah, so as far as the rules go, I feel as soon as you register for the final CA, you will get 2 coupons. And those are the coupons which you can redeem to order your books, 1 coupon for each group. So for the first group, I believe, as we discussed earlier, there won't be much amendments and changes. You can order it right away or as soon as you begin with your classes. And for group 2 is something when you begin with your classes, when you should order once you know कि हाँ अब ये मेरे attempt के लिए amendments freeze हो चुके हैं, इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होगा. That is when you should order. The expiry of the coupons is, I guess, 2 years. You have to order within a span of 2 years. So make sure that you order it prior to 2 years. I mean, within a span of 2 years. Yeah, that is about it. And you always have the BOS knowledge portal where you can refer to the modules. So yeah, Priya, please go ahead. Has she again logged out?
Yeah, I think so. So let's probably move on to the next part
Next
of it.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, which is basically around, you know, what should be the frequency of revisions of the subject, like which will be taught, say, throughout the 2.5 years before the attempt? Like how often or how do you plan your revisions throughout the 2.5 years? And before your attempt, how many times should you have, say, revised for appearing, and how do you manage that across the journey? Harshit,
One
probably you can
mindset
take
which
it.
I
Yeah.
think you should be. Yeah. So one mindset which I feel you should develop is when you are studying prior to your study leaves, आप ऐसा सोचो that you are studying for the study leaves. Don't study as if you are studying for the exam. Make yourself familiar with the subject to an extent जहाँ पे आपको लगे कि जब आप study leaves में you'll open your book, you'll be able to complete that subject in a span of say 10 to 12 days, which will be the ideal time which you'll get then in the study leaves. And the frequency of revision will obviously depend upon the way you schedule your classes and what is your personal capability to remember stuff. But one pro tip here, as we discussed previously, would be अगर आपने coaching ली है तो make sure you utilize it to the complete extent. If you are doing your coaching classes and not opening your books until your study leave and then realizing कि जो coaching की थी I don't remember stuff from that, so that will make no use. So make sure you say for example you have started with SFM. अब रोज आके 3 hours का क्लास होगा, so revise that in a span of 10 to 20 minutes. Next day do the same. Once your chapter is completed, make sure कि आप पूरा chapter एक साथ revise कर लो, giving half an hour or 1 hour on one particular weekend. पूरा subject complete हो जाए, make sure you revise at least 50% of the subject before you begin with the next subject के classes. So that is something you can do. And to retain that subject, another pro tip here is once you start with your other subjects, say for example taking SFM here, आपने SFM की coaching complete की, you came home, you revised and you are familiar with the subject. But SFM के बाद आप SCMP करोगे, FR करोगे, audit करोगे, law करोगे, and meanwhile you might tend to forget जो आपने SFM के concepts पढ़े थे. तो while you are at it, जब आप दूसरे subjects की coaching कर रहे हो, make sure आप दिन में सिर्फ 5 मिनट निकालो, रैंडमली एसएफएम के मॉड्यूल से जो भी चैप्टर्स कंप्लीट हुए या पूरा सब्जेक्ट कंप्लीट हो चुका है तो कोई भी एक सम उठाओ एंड ट्राई टू जस्ट सॉल्व दैट. And that is how you will be able to keep yourself relatable to that subject. 10 मिनट निकालो, एक दो सम सॉल्व करो और एक दो कॉन्सेप्ट रीड कर लो, दैट शुड बी इट. इफ इट इज द केस ऑफ अ थियोरी सब्जेक्ट, मेक श्योर कि आप समझो एसएफएम एंड ऑडिट हो गया, नाउ यू आर स्टडिंग लॉ के क्लासेस चल रहे हैं, तो लॉ के क्लासेस के बाद घर आके आपने लॉ रिवाइज किया, बस एंड में 5-10 मिनट निकालो, ऑडिट का एक क्वेश्चन रैंडम कोई भी उठा के याद कर लो. just try to retain कि हाँ चलो मैंने जो पढ़ा था वो मुझे याद आ रहा है कि नहीं. So if you keep this chain going on until your study leave, I'm pretty sure study leave में आप easily manage कर लोगे.
Also to add, like Harshit mentioned, I think a lot of people will have a question कि ये सब का time कहाँ से मिलेगा. I think that's something you'll have to figure out. Like a lot
Absolutely.
of us have done this, travel करते समय, like from suppose Borivali to suppose हम चर्च गेट जा रहे हैं. So during that time जो class में हो गया, just flip your pages once, at least one way, and if you are feeling sleepy then sleep at that time, आते वक्त पढ़ लो, something like that. You will have to figure out time because time will be short, so prioritization will be key, and these are some things that you have to do it.
Right, we are not asking for something like an hour or 2 hours. I mean,
Exactly.
10 to 15 minutes is something you can spare out. रात को सोते पहले आप prayers बोलते हो, उसके बदले ये revision कर लो, prayers short कर दो. So make it a routine and then it will keep happening. बस अपने routine का part बना लो कि सोने से पहले 15 मिनट revise करना है, that's it. And you'll be through.
Right. Awesome. So I think the next set of questions were in fact on time management itself. Priya, are you sure with us? I think the video is frozen, right? Sure. So let's probably continue. The next set of questions was on time management, which I will ask Advait, which he was just touching upon in terms of, often articles do complain that, they're getting very minimal time in terms of how do you really figure out that time, or let's say when we said, earlier that revision is really important. But how do you find out that time every day when you're still struggling to find out the time to just manage with your articleship itself to read or revise?
So sure. So I think, okay, so this, I am speaking from a Bombay experience in terms of local train. It might be different for other places. So one of the biggest providers of time is during traveling, obviously. So after classes, we used to travel to our client places. You can spare out 10 to 15 minutes at that time. So initially morning, you will have your classes. From there, then you'll have to travel to your place of work. You can take out time at that time. And of course, during articleship as well, once your work is over at office, what you can do is, instead of immediately going home, you can just sit at your place of work, find some corner and just flip through the pages, like 15 to 20 minutes or even half an hour. You can just flip through the pages at office so that, once you reach home, you don't have that lethargy or you're not feeling very tired and tumko sirf fir bed dikh raha hai tumhare ghar pe and stuff like that. So once you're in that environment, in that, simulated environment, it's better to just stay at office for half an hour more and just revise whatever has been taught. So I think these are some of the ways, you can, figure out your time. So basically by traveling or at office after you're done with your work. I think these are the main two areas where you can actually find out time during your articleship.
I think I'd like to add on a little bit on this. So I was basically from a college which had mandatory attendance. So I had to manage like college classes and articleship. So I mean, the one thing is you should not crib about attending college or about having too many things at a time. This is a conscious choice which you have taken. So I think you can probably like keep college as a refreshment time or something like that. Or you can probably, I used to personally sleep in a few lectures and kind of gossip or something. You do something which you like during your college, and then probably during traveling, as Advait mentioned, you revise or you read newspapers or you discuss with your friends like what was taught in class or something like that. And I think it will be through. And as everybody mentioned, it's very important to keep your notes updated and to not miss on lectures. And if you've missed on lectures, then you cover it up immediately. So that is non-negotiable. I think all the panelists have touched upon that. So that
right.
is
In fact, that was the question we wanted to ask you next, that how did you try
okay.
and manage eventually your college, your studies and work, all of it together? Yes. Where did you find the balance for yourself and your studies? Yes.
I think I did. I think if you have the will, everything happens. I'm sure you've done it too, and you've done your industrial training, so you know it better. And you were the one motivating us and telling us कि train में पढ़ो, rickshaw में पढ़ो, जिधर भी है पढ़ो, but make sure you find some time to study and to revise what is going on in class. I think it's not important to like know the subject essentially everything, but you should just have a little vague idea, as everybody mentioned, and that should be it. But you just have to kind of keep going and know that this is a phase, and once it gets over, the results will be way, way better.
Right, that's true. Thanks, Rajri, for that. And Advait, coming back to this part around whole choices in terms of time management and all, can you just share some light in terms of people often have this whole apprehension about how do I choose between Big 4 and midsize, and what impact will it have on my time management and just life in general? And you know, how do I choose between the two, and what really does it hold in terms of say studies and preparation time?
Sure. So from a practical perspective, and having seen a lot of my friends at both Big 4 and small sized firms, I think time will be a shortage for everyone. So, your decision to take up Big 4 or a small size firm should be based on the type of work exposure that you want to choose. Like if you want to go into some specialization, that I think Big 4s will help. If you want to, get an exposure in all the facets that a CA does, say for instance, audit, tax, etc., I think a small size firm will help. Having said that, there is no correlation between your studies, your ability to clear your exams, and the place where you do your articleship from. Because at the end of the day, during the last 1 year, जो Big 4 से हैं वो भी crib करते हैं कि time नहीं है, and the ones who are from a small firm, even they crib that they do not have time. So time management will be an issue for everyone. Leaves, going on study leaves will be a thing that a challenge for everyone. So basically, your choice of firm should not the choice of firm should not be based on the fact that I will have to clear my CA or I'll get time to study, etc. That should definitely not be a basis of choice.
I think I totally agree to you, Advait, on that. But the way I look at it is that I would decide based on more tangible factors. That is, whether what is the work about, how is the sector, like is there some particular sector I want to learn, or is it something agnostic that I am looking forward to?
Exactly.
Yeah. And because I've always felt that if suppose a person decides that he wants to appear for only one group, he's going to still face struggle in meeting timelines for that one group. And if he decides he wants to do both the groups, he will face a struggle with that. So that time management is a relative concept, and you'll always fall short of time.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that is very true. So since Priya is back, I will hand it over back to you, Priya. And why don't you take it along? Priya, you are on mute. Yeah.
Yes, am I audible now?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you so much, Saloni. So we have covered up till articleship, college, and the time management of this trio together.
Yeah.
So it will happen, guys. You have to make it happen. If you make anything happen, it will happen. Fine. Now moving forward, something that all of us think we miss out during this journey is extracurriculars. So Saloni, if you could throw some light on extracurriculars that CA students must do and they must not miss out on during this journey.
That's an interesting question. I'm still thinking of what are the extracurriculars and how do I prescribe those, right? So it's as simple as when we say, like say Raju mentioned that if I have to go to a college, I will figure out what is it that how do I unwind myself or how do I utilize my time. So similarly, if there is some particular hobby or passion that I have, can I just time it or utilize it such that it works out in a manner that it's a break time for me? And it's also serving a purpose. The purpose it's serving is, in the crudest sense of terms, it's enhancing my CV. But in the real sense of terms, it is helping me feel a sense of accomplishment in the midst of all the struggle and hustle that I'm going through, and constantly feeling challenged that अरे ये कितनी सारी पढ़ाई आ गई है मुझ पे जिसमें मैं मेहनत कर रही हूँ. But there is something that I really enjoy doing, and I've been able to make out time for it, and I have been able to say just participate in it. That itself feels a lot of sense of achievement. And we often feel here now, if let's say I'm not very active in college, or I was not say part of I was not very active in college activities. So the question comes, where is the platform to participate in these things, or where do I even go out? So see, there are multiple forums if you actually are interested now. There are things like, let's say ICI has a lot of activities in terms of its webinars, events, gatherings. Even there are certain other like Bombay, within Bombay we have the Bombay Chartered Accounting Society, and there it's not only just the elocution or debate, it's even the singing and dance and stuff, or even your community events, whatever. I would just say that find the time to unwind, but only if you feel that you are okay or you're comfortable giving that. It's not, there's no race or there's no pressure or competition that because X person is doing extracurricular also, or Y person is doing college also, I should also be doing that. It's just about when you feel the need and you want to, you just go ahead with it. Anyone who wants to add on to it probably can please go ahead.
What I'd like to say is just summarizing what Saloni very rightly mentioned. Rather than being one-dimensional, you have to make yourself multi-dimensional. You cannot just be studying, and even though studying will help you clear the exam, as the name of our initiative goes, it's Vision CA, right? So you have to think long term. CA बन तो जाओगे books पढ़ के, but what after that? It is something. It is actually your personality and the overall knowledge which you have, which will take you ahead in life, and not just the books which you study for final CA. So वो तो करना ही है, but ऐसा नहीं है कि वो करते करते हम बाकी सारे aspects भूल जाए. So make sure you make yourself multi-dimensional in terms of gaining knowledge of different subjects, plus the other extracurriculars which Saloni rightly mentioned.
And I'd like to add upon here is that we often crave that our courses correspondence. We don't get that college-like environment where we have clubs and societies. So people, what I have realized during this lockdown phase only actually is that ICAI has branches all over the country, and these branches organize events that are absolutely phenomenal. So if you go to Instagram and you follow each of these branches handles, so suppose it's Vikasa, that is Western Indian Council of Students Association, something like that. They almost daily post events, and these are a variety of events. They are right from cooking to video making to memes making to singing to elocution, everything. And I myself have participated in many such events over the country because now it's all virtual, right? They offer so many events that you somewhere at least find your fit. Even if you don't find your fit, you can even try to volunteer there. You make a good peer group of people, probably not from your city, and even that gives you a very different perspective to this whole course. So do try to participate in at least one or two such extracurricular activities. It will give you many necessary skills like leadership, public speaking, which are equally, if not more important than your technical skills. If I take the example of a panelist here only, Saloni has done a variety of extracurriculars. Harshit is a dancer. Advait plays the guitar. and they all are CAs today. So they have maintained their hobbies besides CA, which is something that definitely has contributed to their overall personality. So if you have a good hobby, don't sacrifice it during these 3 years. Make some time at least for it, and it will take you really a long way in the future. Anybody
Uh,
else wants to add up?
Yeah, so Priya, I wanted to add that the branches that you said, Vikasa branches. So I have some friends who are students who have cleared IPCC and they have joined there as a committee member or who organize various events. So if you think that you want to enjoy your college life or in like college we have clubs, you can join the Vikasa branches as a member.
Yes, exactly. And everybody there will be in the same boat as you. So one person will lift the other person up. It will be another peer group for you to network. So do
Yes.
consider that. Instagram is a very good place if you're looking for such opportunities. Fine. So we have covered extracurriculars. Now the next question is, how many months and which months may be hectic? How to manage studies at that time? Though we have, I think, sort of touched upon this, if somebody could give a very crisp answer to this question, and that somebody is Advait.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. Like if you're doing audit, even in audits, if you're part of the audit of a listed entity, then April or May, during the month of April or May, you will have maybe a total of 3 to 4 weeks which are hectic. Then at the end of each quarter, as in July, October, yeah, and Jan, then you'll have around 2 to 3 weeks of periods which are hectic. Then you may be shifted to other private clients. There again, you'll have 3 to 4 weeks. So in total, I feel that around out of a 12-month calendar, I think 2 to 3 or even maybe 4 months will be extremely hectic. And that to 4 months, I'm saying on the extreme upper end. So, and if you're from a tax background, then every at the end of every month, maybe the last 2 3 days for due dates. I'm not very aware of from a tax perspective. So correct me if I'm wrong. So I think that those are the periods when when things can be a little hectic. So at least during those days, the minimal requirement is at least try your level best to attend classes. Compulsorily ensure that your notes are complete, but also, yeah, don't uh, you know dilute your efforts towards your work at that time at least. So at least on a minimum, try to attend classes, compulsorily ensure that your notes are correct, complete, and then maybe you will have the lean periods where you can manage and make up. So not the entire year will obviously be hectic. So whenever those are hectic, these are some of the minimum things that you can do to stay in the race and stay on the right track.
Great. So the next question is sort of connected to this. How will articleship help me in my CA final preparation? Or are articleship and CA final studies mutually exclusive, or are they complementary? And Rajvi will answer this for us.
Yeah. So articleship and your CA final is not at all mutually exclusive. And it is a very, very important aspect of your CA journey. And I would say it completely transforms you from a student to a professional. And because you are connecting and communicating with a lot of people and you are understanding what your work life will be after qualifying. So I think it's a very good eye opener and it's something which is very, very important. Having said that, if we talk about the direct implications on the CA final preparation, I would say number one will be your drafting skills. So you will learn to write and learn to address your clients and draft and make presentations and stuff very well structured and in a very systematic manner. And that is something which is going to help you in answering your questions also in CA final. So I think that is very important. Apart from that, I think it also helps you build up on your vocabulary and your communication skills, which are essentially important at the end of the day after qualifying. Apart from that, obviously the subject matter of whatever audit, tax, whatever you are doing, and interpretation of acts, like reading the bare act and understanding like how do you read it, how do you read provisos, how do you read explanation, and how do you kind of interpret it. That also helps you in your tax papers. And I think another thing is during your articleship, you will experience phases where you feel like there's a lot of pressure going on and there's a lot of stress and you're not able to cope up and manage. But I think that will prepare you better for the study leave period. And I think that stress will help you during the study period to think that I've been through something so grilling. So I want to achieve this and I want to give it my best shot. So I think articleship is extremely important.
So even I'll add a little bit of my experience here. I was fortunate enough to do a first time India's adoption of a group of pharmaceutical companies, and my principal made me read and understand all the Indias from the bare standards at that time. So for me, it was like my FR subject and my GFRS, that was my elective, was done at work only. And I had to tackle 6 subjects at classes and in self-study. So definitely articleship, if you do it in the right sense, if you ask the right questions, ask questions bindas. Like, don't think that this person will judge me what they think. Remember, principle bhi kabhi article tha. That is what I always stand by. So if you put that practical learning approach towards your work, it will definitely reduce your CA final study burden. You won't have to study things from scratch. Okay, anybody wants to add up anything here?
Yeah, just a small point, like, I mean, to all the panelists as well, what better way to remember something of your course than to actually apply doing that in real life? I think that's the best way you can remember, and articleship provides that. So, yeah.
Okay, fine. The next question is some inhibitions that participants have, and they say that we were not able to make it to Big Fours. Will there be any shortcomings in our learnings? Will I be behind other fellows who got into, other peers who got into Big Fours? And Harshit will take this for us.
Yeah, very relevant question because I myself, being from a mid-sized firm, I've done my 3 years of articleship from a mid-sized firm. There's always this notion कि यार Big Four वाले ने बड़ी कंपनी से क्या है कुछ ज़्यादा आता होगा उसको. But you need to do away with this notion. Just keep one thing in mind. When you clear your inter CA, consider yourself as a newborn baby. There's a whole world of knowledge to be gained. In a Big Four, there will be a different skill set जो Big Four वाले बंदे सीखेंगे. In a mid-sized firm, there will be a different skill set which you will learn. यहाँ पे आपको समझो टैक्स ऑडिट इंटरनल ऑडिट जीएसटी सबका एक्सपोजर मिल रहा है. ऑन द अदर हैंड अ बिग फोर गाय माइट ओनली गेट स्टैट ऑडिट का एक्सपीरियंस. ऑन द अदर हैंड बिग फोर वाले बंदे को कोई लिस्टेड एंड बड़ी कंपनी का स्टैट ऑडिट करने मिल रहा है. आपको मिड साइज फर्म में उतनी बड़ी कंपनी का स्टैट ऑडिट करने नहीं मिल रहा है. सो देयर आर प्रोज एंड कॉन्स on each side of the coin, but you have to understand that the overall learning which you are doing your articleship for is building your overall personality and networking, and the most important thing is people management, which will help you. So how to deal with your seniors, how to deal with your bosses, how to deal with your juniors, ये सब सेम होगा दोनों जगह पे, even in big fours and even in mid-sized firms. So that is the major learning which you need to draw, and there is no need, absolutely no need to worry कि आप mid-sized firms से हो तो you will lag behind, even in terms of say job opportunities or industrial training experiences. We are supposed to cover that and Saloni will take that up. But ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने Big Four से किया है तो you might miss out on an industrial training का exposure, or you might miss out on a बड़ी MNC या consulting का experience. So none of that matters. At the end of the day, आप इंटरव्यू में कैसा करोगे, आपकी पर्सनैलिटी कैसे बिल्ड हुई है, एंड आपके पीपल मैनेजमेंट स्किल्स कैसे, दैट विल मैटर. So focus on what you are supposed to learn in your articleship rather than comparing yourself with people from the other side of the view, so big four man mid-size.
I absolutely agree. In fact, the last sentence, right, which talks about how do you do the best and where you are at,
Right.
because that is what is evaluated. Because see, there are certain choices that you're making at every stage. Now, whether big four or mid-size, a lot of people even make a conscious call. So it's not that because you haven't been able to get into it means that you are missing out on something. Now that you are in a mid-size, how do you better utilize the time if let's say your life is not as hectic? Maybe you can take up more extracurriculars. Maybe you can spend more effort in studying or at your job. The biggest differentiation between a big four and mid-size is that big four, you may work on a segment or a particular area. Whereas in mid-size, you'll always have end-to-end business knowledge. So how do you best leverage that? Or can you say be more engaged in other committees? So I would just think of it, given my situation right now, I made a choice when I had to, but now given my situation, how do I best optimize it across all areas? So, and that is because that is what is going to be evaluated in my next decisioning criteria. When you were in that shoes, what were your other things that you did, or how did you utilize your additional time? Yeah, so that is what I want to add.
Yes, very well. So, grow where you're planted. Make maximum use of whatever opportunities you have. And even your principals, if you ask for work and they find that you are genuinely interested, you will get opportunities that you want, what are, of course, available within their control. Fair enough. The next question is for Harshit, and these are, I think, very related questions. How to develop the non-core areas of my firm? So, say my firm is a firm that is more focused on a particular area, say like internal audit, and I want to know things about stat audit, about tax also. How do I develop that? And along that, how do I make most of my articles? So, please, Harshit, go ahead.
All of the panelists have made my job easier because those who are listening attentively, we have already sort of answered this in bits and pieces. Where Priya spoke about peer groups, okay, how did she used to share the experiences and how did she learn about different things from her friends जो दूसरे aspects में articleship कर रहे थे. So that is one important thing where you can develop your non-core areas. The second thing, in today's world, you can reach out to people on LinkedIn and they are really lovely to help you out. They'll share their experiences and you can gain knowledge from there. There are various apps available जहाँ से आप valuation के courses कर सकते हो. से अगर आप audit में हो, tax का सीखना है तो you can learn about tax from those portals. There are various websites. There are Big 4s के जो websites होते हैं, they are really enlightening. आप अगर उनके research papers पढ़ो, they usually give out updates on what are the latest changes in the laws and stuff. So that is where you can go to update yourself. So more than, see, if you have an interest, you will find a way. So as I previously mentioned, try to be multidimensional. If you show the interest, there'll be 100 sources appearing from where you can gain that knowledge. So make sure you have that thirst to learn about different things and not just stick to what you are doing in your articleship and your specific firm. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, so be proactive, guys. Just don't, follow whatever strict path is set. Try to go beyond that as well to fuel your curiosity.
Definitely.
Fair enough. Now the most awaited part, I think, is the industrial training part. We have got many questions on this, and this would be taken up by Saloni, who has done an industrial training with Yes Securities. So the first question is, when should I consider an industrial training?
So the way I would look at it is to say, why do you need an industrial training, right? The decision is very individualistic. So don't go ahead with taking a decision simply because it may add value to your CV or whatever. For me, I realized that probably audit wasn't the place where I wanted to continue. Then I started figuring out that what is my area of interest. And then the question was that, is there an opportunity in industrial training for an area of interest? And then the second aspect was, can I manage my studies? If the answer to above two questions was yes, then the third was, then should I reach out to these companies? And the thought process was like, let's say, rather than experimenting after my CA final attempt between job profiles and industries, I can do that before my qualification so that I don't lose out on a post qualification year of experience. And hence, I will be able to be more equipped in making a more informed decision after I qualify my CA. So when will be, if your question is very specific on the time front, then the time front is basically, see, you do your industrial training for 12 months and there is a new guideline coming up. I mean, I think it was just proposed, it has not been passed yet, for 18 months of industrial training. So if that is 1.5 years back, then at least 6 months prior to that. So if it is 12 months and 18 months, and if it is 18 months and 24 months, 24 months is a lot sooner. But of course, for someone who's like very determined after 1 year of articleship कि मुझे तो continue नहीं करना है, for them, I think it will be best to decide then.
Fair enough. Now, as you all know that industrial training has slightly lesser leaves available. So this planning of 3 years would slightly get tweaked because if you consider an industrial training. So how much percentage of the syllabus should be completed before you go on an industrial training, or I would say before you go on your leave in general?
Right. So, see, this is very important to consider, and just in terms of attitude and mindset also. So I'll take one. I'll just probably broaden the horizon of the question, and I hope if wherever you guys feel that you're not able to follow, then please put it on the chat box or turn on your video and just ask to stop or raise your hand. The question is that industrial training will give you lesser leaves, largely 90% of the time. You may get like say somewhere around 3 months in comparison to a big four, which is say 5 or 6 months. Now, the second part, what is the immediate implication of it? First implication is that, even when you're deciding whether you want to go for industrial training, I would say you need to be mentally prepared with the choice that you're making, that of course I'll have to put in more hard work and effort. But it has a lot of upsides in terms of giving you first-hand industry experience, making you more equipped in terms of how things work, giving you an insight and perspective. So what I did or how I planned was that I decided this around exactly 1 year before my CA final attempt, like some 14, 15 months before my CA final attempt was when I was interviewing. So what I tried and did was, I tried and covered up at least all the classes, the backlog that I had until then. And the second thing that I tried doing was actually, so there are chapters like say SFM में Forex or costing में there is certain new chapters which you have. Then there are, so all the new chapters which come in CA Final. So CA Final, a lot of the syllabus is just a build up on what you've studied in IPCC. But what I did was whatever was new within CA Final syllabus, that I tried covering once before my study leave period itself. So whatever was difficult, say Forex, portfolio and SFM, and that difficulty has to be decided by you. So within direct tax, say international tax only, or within law, whatever is the new segment of say Company Act. So whatever was new, I tried covering it once before my study leave itself. And that meant that for additional, even the period before study leave, you don't go out and like probably have fun that much as others do, because you have to put in the extras of studying right from start. Hey, any folks from audience, if you guys could please turn on your cameras, I think it'd be really amazing to have some interaction or engagement, because right now it feels like I'm talking to everyone who's like just names.
Come on, people, put on your cameras because I have got a lot of questions about industrial training and I hope you all are here to get them answered.
Cool, thanks, Chirag. Sure, let's continue. And Chirag, you can also ask any question if you have, like, feel free to ask him. Yeah. Sure, Priya, continue. Yeah.
Yes, so Saloni has broadly covered about what you should be your mindset before you go on an industrial. And as she always said about that also, there's nothing to crib in it because it is a choice you are making again. Now the next question is, I think it's a myth. Many people have that Big Fours, do they allow industrial trainings or do they not? And what to do if your firm's policy doesn't allow industrial training?
So see, this is something which is a guideline by ICAI itself, that all candidates get a choice to pursue industrial training in the last 12 months. So irrespective of Big 4 or midsize, you will be able to pursue this if you want to. So I don't think that should be a challenge. And of course, if there is any timeline variation of 10, 15 days, I think once you are very clear on your intent and the rationale behind the choice, you will be able to convince the other person as well.
Yes, and you make the decision at the start also, like confirming before you join, make it clear with the HR whether the policy allows or not, and then accordingly you can take your decision.
Sure, yeah. But ideally, all firms will have will be allowing this,
Yes,
because this is
most
an
firms will.
ICAI guideline. Yeah.
Fair enough. We have already covered how should we plan our journey if you're considering an industrial training, just as Saloni said. Somebody said something?
Yeah, this is Ankur here. May I ask you a question regarding what you just said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, Uncle.
So I am going into a Big 4, I'm going to EY. If I tell them today that I might be wanting to pursue industrial training 12 months, 18 months down the line, then do you not think I will stand at a disadvantage of them
So,
saying,
see, Ankur, that's what I'm saying. Like, probably when you join, you're not even very clear that you might want to do this, right? Because right now you're just joining. And as a policy, all firms will allow. Even I was from EY doing my stat audit. So every firm has to. This is an ICI guideline, so you don't need to disclose it to them on day one because day one even you are not sure. What if you join audit and you really enjoy it and decide that this is what I want to continue with? Because on day one you wouldn't even know that this is what I'm considering. What I would recommend is that consider your seniors, some of the seniors whom you are comfortable with as your mentors, and discuss with them when you're evaluating an opportunity that this is the area of interest that I have, and I do think that this could be an interesting opportunity for me and that I really want to explore. And they might as well be very supportive of it. The same happened with me, like my managers and partners are supportive. They're saying that, okay, if you feel that this is really progressive and this is what you want to continue ahead, then please go ahead with it. And they were able to say, weigh in some of the positives and negatives that, this is what is going to be positive about, say, where you are right now vis-a-vis where you are considering to move to. So that always helps. But of course, on day one, you wouldn't have the clarity. But I would say the N minus 15 months, that is when you're deciding, let's say 2-3 months before you're deciding or actually joining or making the call, or when you have to start applying for interviews or so, I think it'd be a fair thought to discuss.
okay, understood. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next question is industrial training a must in the third year of horticulture? So this is again a big question. So if you could throw some light.
See, this is something very subjective. It is a personal perspective. I'm not sure how many of our panelists have also gone ahead and done their industrial training.
Only you have.
Okay. So see, so then we know, right? They're also everyone is doing well in their lives, doing what they wanted to, probably, or on their paths to doing what they wanted to. So it's not a compulsion. The way I started off with the industrial training segment was also this, right? You decide. Like for me, the decisioning tip off point is once I have clarity on whether I want to continue doing this for the next 5 years. If the answer is no, then I start looking out that, okay, then what is it that I want to do? Or what is it that is going to lead me towards doing that? And hence, what is the job profile that I want to be in? And is there an option to experience that before qualification? Then why not? But provided I feel I can manage my studies. Because first criteria is to actually be able to qualify, right? Because all your job opportunities come after qualification. If you think that this will be a hurdle for you in just studying, um, um, or even otherwise, then probably you may want to take a pause. But if you feel it's manageable, or if it's something that really excites you, then I would say even if it comes at a cost of your attempt or so, you can consider. But of course, it's not a must. But I would definitely suggest that please try, if you want to really do your industrial training, to take it up in a field that interests and excites you, or you feel is something that you want to evaluate once you clear CA final. So if let's say you have a very clear vision on how does a real field work look like, and then you can decide that A, I liked the experience, I want to continue, or B, I did not like the experience, and hence what is the other field that I want to now move to. So
And
that
people,
helps.
you're connecting with other industrial trainees on LinkedIn also will help you a lot, and asking them about their experiences. So if
Right.
you do a simple LinkedIn search, and you'll get people, simple LinkedIn search of industrial training, this keyword, you'll get many people who have done industrial trainings. Connect with them, build up a conversation gradually, and they will be more than happy to share their experiences. 90% of people will share their experiences. So from that, you can form your own unbiased opinion about industrial trainings in various sectors. So do this over your period of 2 years. So at the end, when you have to actually go, you know whether you want to do it or not, and how much you'll take away from that experience. Okay, so um, another myth here is it advisable to pursue industrial training, or can I pursue industrial training if I'm from a mid-sized firm? I think Harshit has already spoken upon this, but still,
Yeah.
Saloni, go ahead.
No, I think that's a clear yes or no question, and I would say yes, you can, because um, there are no dearth of opportunities as long as you're able to prove your competence and talent or how best you've utilized your time, right? It's as simple as that. It's not everyone brings a different set of experience when they come to a particular job forum or any interview, and especially during an industrial training. Like I did my industrial training in investment banking, so I knew nothing about investment banking when I went for my interview. And तब तक तो एसएफएम का सिलेबस भी नहीं हुआ था, मतलब फाइनेंशियल मॉडल पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजमेंट क्या ही समझ में आता है जब तक तुम स्टडी लीव में पढ़ो नहीं तो they don't expect you to really know your technicals, right? They just want to see your intent, willingness to learn, to actually be able to deliver, or why is it that you even want to try? So as long as your intention is clear, which can be as simple as this is an area of field that interests me and I really want to be a part of it, then they'll be happy to consider you. It's as simple as that. So yeah.
The firm doesn't matter as long as you are a good fit for that organization.
Yes, and as long as you feel that you are a good fit or this organization is a good fit for you.
And you have to prove it to the interviewer ultimately. It all boils down to that. Fair enough. Another burning question that we have is it advisable to defer an attempt for industrial training?
That's a very common and very valid question, I would say. But it depends on your planning. Matlab, see, even most of my colleagues and mentors, in fact, suggested that I should defer my attempt. And I felt that I won't be able to. I might feel left out, or I felt that if it comes to a point that I have to defer, then I may feel that it wasn't a. I shouldn't have taken it up. That is how I felt it personally. But I know a lot of my friends who went to, and probably that was one of the reasons to say choose a mid-tier firm to do my industrial training. And I settled with that fact. Whereas, say, there were some of my friends who chose the top tier, or say, I'll give you more clarity. Let me take names. So there are, say, Bulge Bracketla or JP Morgan or the bigger investment banking firms also, which have industrial training opportunities. And there probably the work hours are more hectic or so. And the leaves are very strict in terms of you will not get, say, more than 2.5 months. So 90% of the candidates do defer their attempts and they do end up getting ranks. Also, people have ended up then getting a rank. So they have achieved what they wanted to in their life. So it's simply about, it's a very subjective question and it is about how well you're able to plan. It is about your priority that in the 6 to 8 months of industrial training that you are doing before your attempt, are you able to convince yourself and make yourself study every day? Do you think you want to go through that every day and give up on your other uh, thrills in life right before 6 months because that is something that you might have to sacrifice for in terms of lesser study leave? Then sure, go ahead. If you feel that no, you want to, you would prefer, say, taking it in a very relaxed manner rather than stressing yourself, then you delay your attempt because 6 months here and there in the long scheme of life doesn't matter. It's a very, very in that moment, in that hustle that we feel that कि अरे I really need to. There's so much of pressure. मतलब लोग पूछेंगे 6 months delay कर दिया, मतलब 6 months तुमने ऐसे ही delay कर दिया. तो ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है जिंदगी में. It's about you plan for yourself and then decide how can you really address the issue in hand.
Yes, exactly. 6 months doesn't make a difference. I think most of the participants here are worried that we were scheduled for May 23, for May 20, and then we came to November 23, and we have lost some valuable time of our life. In the long run, everything spans out well. Don't worry.
Yeah, and if any of the panelists also or you, any one of you have any friends who have done industrial training, any other experiences that you want to share, please feel free to add on.
Yes, perhaps if we can, we'll organize a separate session just for industrial training only because we have many children asking us about this. So we'll try to do that definitely. Cannot commit surely, but we'll definitely try to do that. Another question that we have here is, what are the kind of profiles that one can get into as an industrial training? So if you could just give us a broad overview, Saloni.
So in terms of profiles, the profiles are almost as equivalent as what you would get once you qualify CA, right? Because there is so in the most tactical sense of it, if you want to get an idea of what the landscape exists, You Google it up or type it on ICAI. ICAI has a list region-wise, northwest, southeast, of all the firms that are registered under them, which provide industrial training opportunity. You can Google and get the list. But if I was to just briefly touch upon the industries available, there are, say, some of the IB firms like that come up for industrial. And this is something, the challenge with industrial training is also that you often have to reach out to them one-on-one through LinkedIn or so. And there is no placement as such usually held. Sometimes I think one or few of the years ICAI has held placements, but it's not as popular because every firm will take only say 1 or 2 candidates for industrial training. So the intake is low, so you have to reach out one-on-one through LinkedIn was the only source, I think, or if any personal connect that you have that you can leverage, you know someone working there. In terms of the broad landscape, I think so. HUL takes industrial trainees, HUL, Marico, Aditya Birla Group, and these are some of the larger industrial conglomerates in divisions like say supply chain or even business finance or planning their operations and so. So you get a flavor of what the industry looks like. Then there are IB firms, of course. Then there are firms which are into, say, equity research and stuff, which also take some of the industrial trainees. Then there are banks also, which are now starting to take up industrial training roles, which is, or even some of the other FMCG companies which are mid-tier, or say financial services like Edelweiss and all. So it's like the whole gamut of landscape that is available. So you just you need to first decide. You can't start outside and on this one. You need to decide what is it that interests you, what excites you, and then start figuring out that for that particular line of thought or industry or career line, what are the options available, and then start reaching out to those companies. Rather than saying कि there are 100 companies taking up industrial training and उस 100 में से मुझे कौन सा जम रहा है. That is how, that wouldn't be an ideal approach.
Yes, talking to as many people as you can will help you form a really good opinion on this. Anybody else wants to add anything here? Fair enough. So we have covered all the questions now. If any of the panelists wants to give any generic or general advice which they think, or share any mistakes which our participants could benefit from. Is there anything? Or we have covered everything?
Oh, there's one question that had come in the chat.
Yes, I'll just go to them now.
So Harshit or anyone, whoever wants to take it up can take. On the online coaching versus face-to-face and pen drive.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll take this up. See it again. This is subjective, and if you're planning to take subject-wise specific faculties, then you can try out one medium. Say you can take one of the subjects online and try it out. If you feel you are comfortable with that, then you can carry on with that. Otherwise, depending on the COVID situation, I'm not sure how will that pan out. Nobody's sure. So if they do start with the physical lectures, I mean, see, I'll give you a trait which will help you decide whether you should go for online ones, pen drive ones, or the physical ones. If you feel that you are really self-disciplined, that you can wake up at 7, attend the classes by yourself, which are pre-recorded, sit from 7 to 10 without any distractions, then you can probably opt for it. Otherwise, in my opinion, it would be a bad option. If you have paid the fees for physical lectures, you'll have to wake up at 7. It will draw you to the door of the classes. You will sit, you will attend. And the most important learning would be the peer learning there, because in a class of 50 students, your mind might not be that active to think of all the possible doubts or the questions. अभी दूसरे 49 बच्चे जो भी हैं, they'll ask their doubts and bulb जलेगा कि this can be thought from this perspective as well. So that would be the advantage of attending a physical live lecture. So in my personal opinion, I'd suggest that physical lectures would be a bit better. But then depending on the feasibility, I feel online pre-recorded pen drive lectures are not bad either.
It's just that you have to be more disciplined.
Exactly. Yeah.
And here again, if you have a peer group who will push you to attend that daily, it will help. If you're going for the pen drive or online mode. Fair enough. So we have a question from the chat by Anshita Bansal that I am from Lady Shri Ram College, Delhi University, and Delhi University doesn't allow articleship besides college. So what can I do to make my last year of college more effective so that I don't feel sad that I have delayed my attempt because of regular college. So I'll add a few things here. So Anshita, if you can, I know that Delhi University, especially LSR, has many societies which are very coveted societies, which people like me in Bombay really look forward to attending. Rajni is also smiling at that. So make sure you immerse yourself in something like that, something which you like, and take up a good leadership position there. So that will boost your soft skills, your communication skills, something which is really, really, really important. Can't stress on it enough. And you'll also have some good experiences to talk about when you go to your articleship interview or when you go to your job interview. Secondly, if you have any particular aims after qualification, say you want to go into finance, or you are planning to pursue some further education, start researching upon that education now. Like suppose you want to do an MBA, maybe you can research, talk to people more about that right now. If you want to take up a course like CFA or probably ACCA, you can research about that and start it now. I know that many people in DU complete 2 levels of CFA while they are in their third year of college. So if that's your liking, you can go towards it. Basically, do things that will add value to your life depending on what are your interests, and don't worry about that 1 year. In the long run, some years up and down doesn't matter. It's not a race. It's definitely not a race. I hope that answers your question. Anshita, if you still have any doubts, you can connect with us one on one. Okay, so the next question that we have is face-to-face versus online completed. We had a question by Prathamesh that what kind of materials should we be referring to now before we get the modules, in the initial phase of our studies, what material should we be referring to? So if you all can touch upon that, panelists.
I think your classes material should do. And even if you don't have the module in physical copy, you can anyway go online and check out the module on the BOS portal as well. So what you can do right now, in fact, is go through your classes material and even try to compare your classes material with modules, so that, in that process, you maybe have an idea about, whether your classes material is enough for you to, plan your studies overall till the last day of your exams. I think that is one thing you can do. So you can go with your classes material and at the same time compare stuff with the module as well.
Great. Thank you, Mohit, for adding on that point of internships. Yes, you can also do internships, Anshita. It will help you gain some added leverage in terms of what your life will be once you're into articleship. And you can do it in whatever area you feel. Like even you can go into digital marketing or content writing, some very hot fields at present. So yes, do consider internships also if you're not starting articleship due to regular college. The next one is by Pavan. How to be attentive and focused if we plan recorded or online lectures, especially for theory subjects like audit and tax? Please guide us on this. So please go ahead, panelists.
I think most of us have taken physical lectures, so we are not really in that position. But I would say you have to have your end goal in mind, that this is something you want to achieve, and say a decision of online classes would not want you to deter from that end goal. So that is some self-discipline which you have to inculcate, and I think, yeah, it'll happen. You just have to sit, and you probably have friends who are doing the same classes. So you can probably post classes, discuss upon it, and motivate each other or something like that. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah,
And
I will just add one. Sorry, Advait, go on.
Yeah, so actually I did one subject. I did IDT from a pen drive lecture. So basically I had two things in mind. The first thing is if I don't, I used to keep reminding that if I don't do this now, the backlog will be huge. And I know myself that I will, if the backlog is too huge, I will actually succumb to that pressure. And second thing, what you can do is, I call this technique as 5 minutes more technique. So I identified this, that whenever I am watching some favorite TV show of mine, so my mind instantly tells me that, come on, man, let's just watch one more episode, one more episode. So that I tried to do it in my online, in my pen drive lecture as well. So that way I used to do, like, chalo come, if I used to feel a bit pressurized, or if I used to feel like I just want to take a break, I used to just keep telling myself, just put in 5 minutes more, just put in 5 minutes more. And to an extent, surprisingly, half the lecture, even the entire lecture is over. So I think these are the two things you can follow.
Right. So again, two tactical advices that I would give, which is more tactical than on the whole mindset part, because mindset is of course important. How do I start inculcating the mindset? I did two things. One, I would time myself that in one sitting, how much how long am I able to sit for? For me, it started at, I think, 12 minutes per sitting when I was doing my CA final study. 12 went to 20, 20 went to 40. And I mean, this was just, this was for reading, but I think you can easily do it for your video lectures also. That how long till you get distracted or you feel like getting up again, and try increasing that time. Second is especially for lectures like audit and law, because I had so much of backlog. I had to take up some video lectures. What I tried and did in that was I would always take continuous written notes, because A, that helps me have my handwritten notes ready. B, it ensures that I'm not sleeping. Um, C, I have it a little synthesized, and I have a lot of interpretations written with me, which is otherwise difficult after because if you're going to read it after 1 year, you might just, it will be very helpful when you have the interpretations or all the nuances written down with you. So that helped for me. Yeah.
Fine.
There are a few points which I'd like to add, taking things
Sure.
forward from what Saloni said. One thing, don't consider this as a taboo or a silly thing to do. Please use sticky notes. When you sit for the lecture, make sure कि आप 5 sticky note already वो chapter के ऊपर लगा दो, and make sure you have to fill those sticky notes anyhow. So you will pay attention to the lectures कि हाँ अभी मुझे ये sticky note पे इतना summarize करके लिखना ही है, 5 sticky notes भरने हैं. So that will help you pay attention to what the professor is saying. That will be first thing. And the second thing is, keep a set of 5 to, or say 3 to 5 questions ready before the lecture or maybe after the lecture, जो आप आंसर करोगे डायरेक्टली वंस यू कंप्लीट द लेक्चर. ऐसा नहीं कि लेक्चर कंप्लीट हुआ मैं पढ़ूँ एंड फिर मैं वो आंसर करूँ. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू हैव अ माइंडसेट कि मुझे लेक्चर के बाद 3 to 5 क्वेश्चंस अपने आप आंसर करने हैं जो आज के लेक्चर में पढ़ाया, यू विल ऑटोमेटिकली पे अटेंशन टू द क्लास. कीप योर सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन्ड इनफ कि ये मेरा टेस्ट है एंड मुझे ये टेस्ट में 5 out of 5 क्वेश्चन जो भी मैंने सेट किए वो आने चाहिए. So if you try to do these two things, apply these two techniques, I feel you'll be able to concentrate on your lectures even in those boring subjects like audit.
Great. So Ankur has a couple of more questions. Please unmute yourself, Ankur, and go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone.
Evening,
So,
Ankur.
my question is regarding something other than CA. It is regarding that I was thinking about doing CFA with CA, and while going forward and listening to my friends, my peers, my elders, I got a varied set of reviews. Some people said that it is very easy. Some people said after doing SFM, you can manage it level 1 and 2 easily. Some people are of the opinion you have to spend at least 2-3 months on it and do not give a lot of levels before CA final, otherwise you'll have to defer your attempt. So from your point of view, I agree. This is again very subjective, but still, any light you would like to sit on this one?
Ankur, actually, we are falling a little short of time, and I think we respect everybody's time here. So we'll give you an answer, but in a little concise way. If you need any further guidance, we have specific mentors who have done CFA. You can connect with them one-on-one. But Advait, please go ahead in a very crisp way because you have gone through that path.
Yeah, so Ankur, actually, thank you for the question. I had done CFA level 1. So CFA level 1 requires some sort of studying. Of course, it is not as, it is not as extensive as other levels of CFA that can be managed with your articleship as well, and with maybe a week or 1.5 weeks of study leaves. But for CFA level 2, some of my friends did. They required extensive planning for that. And they actually did, they took some leaves. They had a tough time with it. But then if you're actually very interested into, core finance, if you actually want to go ahead and carry out a career in maybe investment banking, for portfolio management, equity research, wealth management, and areas like that, then I think it is uh, definitely an investment worth doing. But having said that, you will have to also, plan your classes, your articleship accordingly. So give it a thought. Actually, I would say that evaluate yourself first, whether you will be able to do that, how much are you interested in doing it, and also consider that you have also articleship, CA final classes, and CA final articleship, and these are not small considerations to take in as well, right? So I feel that it should be a very personal decision. Evaluate yourself first and then take a call doing it.
And you can always reach out to our mentors one-on-one. We'll tell you the details further if you need any more specific hand holding. Fair enough. Any other question, Ankur?
Yeah, another one was there. One was that my dad himself is a CA and he's currently in the service sector. So, having a conversation with him a few months ago, he was asking me to do up some other courses with CA because apparently maybe the demand is not the same. Maybe you don't get the same amount of pay, something like that. So, from your own experience or what you guys face in the industry, becoming a chartered accountant.
I don't think, Ankur, anyone would really. I mean, there may be very few courses which would give you an incremental pay. I think it's just about getting an entry these days into opportunities or just any differential value addition. But that also, if you've utilized your current opportunity in, say, not just courses, but I think extracurriculars are valued as just as much as any other course. So do the courses only if your interest areas are really aligned into the knowledge that the course holds, because anyways you're going to be really pushing yourself a lot to manage a course along with CA. Like it's a lot of it's a tough fight, and if at the end of the day you don't really realize what is the merit out of it, or if you're not self-convinced about it, you'll just make it further difficult for you. Like yeah, I think this is a very long question, but that's the brief way I would put it as.
Ankur, if you have any specific courses in mind, do get in touch with us offline. We will see if we have mentors about that and they could share their experiences with you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Niyati that Harshit, you mentioned various portals where we could pursue courses to enhance our knowledge. Could you please suggest some to us?
What I was referring to was there's Coursera, which I know about. There's LinkedIn, which offers courses. There are online portals. I'm not sure if I can name a few, but I've come across various portals जो ये offer करते हैं. But I mean, Coursera is one of the most popular ones which you can opt for. There are a few free courses as well and a few paid ones also, so you can opt for that.
So Niyati, if it's any specific niche that you want to learn, do get in touch with us again offline. So we could, if we have done something similar, we could share our experiences with you. Fine. Sakshi is asking, hi everyone, my question is regarding articleship. If we are getting opportunities to work in Big 4, but with staffing, non-staffing, what should we do? What are the risks? So I am not really sure about this.
Where is the question? What is the question regarding staffing, non-staffing?
Yes, it's the second last question currently in the chat.
As Harshit mentioned a couple of questions.
Oh, it's below that. Wait, I'll read it again. Hi everyone, my question is regarding articleship. If we are getting
maybe if Sakshi can just unmute herself and explain the question, I think that'll be helpful.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Hey, good evening. Don't call us ma'am. We are all just mentors.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is regarding the loan staffing thing. That if
loan staffing, okay.
Yeah.
Understood. So basically, like some of the firms, like you will be registered officially under an X name, but will be working under the Y brand.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes.
So go ahead with it. What about it?
So what is the risk like related to like whether we should accept the offer or not, or whether we should consider it as a like we should basically join that firm in that case or not? Like basically the field is internal audit then. So,
Understood. Anyone here has any specific view? Matlab, I would still say if internal audit interests you, then go ahead with it because, and if internal audit and the Y brand in which you're going to actually work, if that interests you, then I think you should go ahead with it because I don't think the registered name versus actual brand name ends up being a huge concern.
Yeah.
One thing I would say here is, so in the institute campus placements, what happens is the firm which you are registered in comes under the portal automatically.
Yeah.
So that is why you don't get an upper edge that you've done your articleship from Big 4, and there's a lot of filtering out from large corporates on that end. So that is one disadvantage which I've known of. Other than that, I'm not aware.
Right. So for campus, so yeah, so the name which comes on the ICAI SSP you're talking about, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So actually, while filling up your form, you can very well mention in your campus placement form as well. You can mention the name of the firm, and in the bracket, you can also mention affiliate of the main Big 4 that you're talking about, or something like that. So even, for instance, if I were to give you an example, EY is actually in India. If you were doing an audit, it's called SR Bartley, but then people do use that network firm of EY. If you can use that, then maybe that can be given a consideration. That should not be an issue, I think.
okay, so basically I need to confirm this from the firm, the HR of the firm, that whether we can use the name of that particular big firm or not, right?
Yes, do get it confirmed, and also do get it confirmed that, so for instance, I was registered under a director in my firm, and in my ICAI SSP, the name of the director's firm actually was coming in, although I was working in Deloitte. So also get it confirmed, whether as part of a loan staff, will you actually be able to work for that Big 4 or not? Get that confirmed as well. So get both these confirmed and then take a call, I would say.
Okay. One more question regarding this only. Like, if I compare this opportunity with an opportunity, if I get to work in any other big 6 firm, so I should prefer a loan staffing offer or another offer which is from the big firm directly, right?
Okay, that's actually a bit subjective, to be honest. So basically, just so what the questions that I mentioned, just get it confirmed, and then actually also look at, so if I would say Big 6 wouldn't make as much of a difference. Well, there will be a few companies here and there, but then there'll be a huge number of opportunities as well. So that should not be a lot. That should not be hugely problematic for you in the future. But then also get to know the kind of work that the articleship firms are going to offer. If you have an offer from 2 companies, basically know the kind of work that they are going to provide you, the culture of the organization. I think that should be better line. I think that should weigh in more compared to that, I feel.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Anmol Sharma, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? Do we have Anmol Sharma here?
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Yes, Anmol Sharma here.
Yes, please go ahead.
What I want to ask is that one of the top 6 firm is offering that in you can do articleship in audit firm, but it would be a secondary service hiring, that you would not be facing the client. You will be doing the office work. Means the evaluation work you will be doing. Okay.
I think, Anmol, to answer your question, I think this has now come up in some of the Big 4 firms also because of the COVID scenario, where they feel that probably the learning curve may be difficult just in terms of because of being virtual. You can evaluate if whether that role or analysis is still interesting or not. If not so much, then you may consider probably switching or doing your articleship for the first year with another firm, and then maybe switching after a year to the firm which is offering the secondary service line kind of a role.
Okay. Thank you, Salon.
Thanks.
Fair enough. So, guys, we are falling short of time. We have other the mentors have other commitments to go to too. So, Krishna Gupta, I know there is a question that you have put up in the chat. Please get in touch with me offline, and we'll see how we can help you. So, Prithvi, would you like to make any announcements? And any mentors have any commitments, you can definitely leave. Prithvi, are you there?
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful to just have such a great audience. And let's, we all have the Vision CA group. We can keep connecting and staying in touch. And you can always post your questions there, or even otherwise reach out to your personal mentors that we're now allocating through Vision CA. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much,
I think
panelists.
thanks a lot.
Thanks
Yes.
a lot for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Just a small announcement to make. We were supposed to have a founder for 3 years, but he has some commitments to go to. So, guys, Vision C has come up with this one-on-one mentoring facility, all completely voluntary. So please make take maximum advantage of this. We'll put in the details in the description of this video once it's on YouTube, and do connect with a personal mentor based on that. Other than that, 400 students have already registered, so make sure you take advantage of the wide variety of mentors and the experience that we have here. Other than that, if you have any specific doubts, get in touch with us. We'll try our best to help you out. And if you find today's video informative, please don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, share this with everybody you can, and stay tuned for more. Until next time, bye-bye.
Also, thank you for spending 2 hours on a Saturday evening listening to us talk. Yeah, it makes a lot.
Actually.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.